And from there, we have taken these archaeological objects, tangas over 1,000 years old. Modern man thinks he invented everything. Long before the arrival of the Europeans, the estuary Amazon people toasted during the funeral rites dressed in these garments that were discovered in 1959. They belong to the Santarém culture and are decorated with interesting designs. Archaeologists know with accuracy that the Amazon River has been inhabited for at least 12,000 years, testimony to which are these clay tangas, or arrows of primitive quartz. The only archaeological department in Brazil that was housed within the University of Rio de Janeiro closed a few years ago due to a lack of expectation. Today, a prestigious private institution with which the state participates economically, the Museu Goeldi in Belém de Pará, studies on its own and with important results the prehistoric Amazon. Directed by Dr. Vera Guapindaya, these funeral urns and sacred contents have been studied over the past few years. Urns that belong to an important necropolis located in the region of the Maracá River.
Inside the urns that we are seeing now, in all of the urns we opened, we found bones. Detached bones belonging to complete skeletons. We found no funeral paraphernalia inside the urns. We have found things outside the urns. In the grotto, we found ceramic necklace beads and a few vessels. The vessels were outside. That was what the urns were accompanied by. But there was nothing inside. They were always outside. Ethnologists believe that some tribes cast the bodies to the river so that the fish would eat the softer parts of the bodies, and when the bones were picked clean, they would put them inside the urns and celebrate another ritual, a secondary ritual. We can also imagine that once the body had decayed, they would scrape the bones with stone instruments, and later put them inside the urns.
The Goeldi Museum holds in its collection several hundred funeral urns, where the artists of the past made it very clear which sexual group the deceased belonged to. Civilized inhabitants of the Amazon River. When this river is just a stream in its Andine origin, the natives call it Paranapitinga, clear river, referring to the crystal waters. Very close to here, at the mouth, the water is brown, painted with time and life. The old Amazon pushes the Atlantic Ocean strongly, trying to make its way. It has to spill 175 million liters of water in just one day. All the water moved by the Thames throughout one whole year. With such mind-boggling figures, it's easy to imagine that besides water, the river furnishes sediments to the sea. And it's true, 800 million tons of Andine land wind up in the ocean every year. That's enough material to multiply 10 times over Brazil's most famous mountain, the Pão de Açúcar, or Sugarloaf Mountain, a miracle contemplated by the gods of Corcovado. Those of us who have made this series possible for you have not been unaware of this miraculous explosion of life. Believe us, we feel blessed by this river and its graces. We have been respectful witnesses to their intimate gestures. And you along with us. The men who threaten the Amazon River have been more slippery than the river itself. Daniel Garibotti, our producer, has tirelessly pursued them.
Bom dia.
But they were unwilling to disclose their sins.
Dr. Cecilio Almeida, por favor.
In spite of Daniel's efficiency, the destroyers of the Amazonia will not show their faces. The threatened fauna wasn't as picky. To have them pose for the camera was as difficult as having them stand before a gun sight, but without blood, nor guilty feelings. Without bullets, we have hunted down moments, secrets, the distrust of beautiful animals so that you could fall in love with the Amazon planet and its inhabitants. We have become involved so we could better understand the last call of this part of the world where so many things are happening. No animal was more important than another, although working with this silent 100-kilogram anaconda was something we enjoyed very much, as snake lovers can understand. The pet of some military outfit, like this ocelot, wanted to come out on television, and we let it. Although we did have to insist on our own creative criteria. Our technicians had a great time trying to combine electronics with the jungle humidity. But with patience, vocation, and trade, everything can be resolved. The cheekiness of some has done the rest. Six months of fieldwork, and much more than that of planning, have been needed to be able to photograph some of Brazil's gems that glow before the blindness of almost everyone. Snapshots that we now keep in our hearts.
Aquí está nuestro amigo, el oso hormiguero.
When Daniel Ubeda, Israel del Santo, and Javier Suarez climbed to the jungle rooftop, they did so accompanied by one who is very familiar with this kingdom, where the right to admission is reserved. Dr. Tania Sanayotti has been studying the Harpia eagle for a number of years, and our team covered her work at the heights. This is how one of the few young eagles born in the Brazilian Amazonia showed itself. The Harpia eagle is a threatened species, but there are people who are watching over it. Many times, we have had to leave the ground to be at the top of things. In the Pantanal, the breeding colonies of the big waders are 30 meters above our heads. And that's where we went with our cameras. There, we were received with noise and friendliness by these families of cabezas secas who wanted to meet you. The Brazilian authorities treated us with friendliness and companionship. The members of the SIGs, of the Army of Manaus, were very happy, as were we, the day several jacarés regained their freedom before the close observation of our camera. We traveled with the federal police and the Ibama through the streets of Rio de Janeiro and Sao Paulo, exposing those who dealt in the illegal traffic of the natural heritage of the Brazilian people. Those days weren't easy. The illegal sale of animals is an important business, and a foreign camera is never welcome among the mafia. The wealth of the Amazon forest is also distributed among the mafia. We were able to see the face of the man who held the chainsaw. An injured tree fell too close. Its last lament was a big fright for us. It was not only our intention to make a pretty series. From the very start, it was our intention to share the pains of the Amazon. And none was as terrible as that of the natives that we interviewed in the midst of their struggle, a struggle for territory, dignity, and life itself. In the Kaiowá village, we felt disgusted for belonging to the tribe that forces them to commit suicide. We saw too many children with lost gazes.
Cuando quiera.
The gold fever has not been cured yet in 21st century Brazil, and we've traveled through some of its narrow circuits. With our camera, we wanted to find out how the garimpeiros earn their living and where they lose their lives. From Poconé to Sierra Pelada, our team followed the gold trail. And as did the gold diggers, we only found cold and sweat.